is this. This is Dig. This is a map of Dig and referrals of news stories. Social networking is, lumped in with other interesting technologies, smartphones and video advertising, and that's all great. But actually, it's more fundamental. It sort of sits underneath them all. And I think the best analogy with the impact of social networking is actually with the impact of the internet itself in 1995. We've seen many of the same reactions. Initially, people said, well, we really have to find out about this. Can't we just outsource it to someone who understands it? Then you start to see that it actually has quite a significant impact on every aspect of your business. And it's particularly disruptive for businesses like yours and like mine, which rely on the efficiencies of the vertical top-down media, mass media market. So, basically it's efficient. There are efficient ways of reaching lots of people through print, through TV, through radio. And what this does is it makes the horizontal transmission of ideas, of news, of recommendations, of anything, just as efficient as the vertical transmission. And that's hugely disruptive if you build your business around the vertical bit being the efficient bit. So we're still all figuring this out. This is disrupting my business. I'm sure it's disrupting your business. So far, we have worked out some of the rules of the road here, but it's very much a work in progress. So one of the striking things is the way that social networking blurs previously distinct functions. It does this in a different way in different industries, but I was talking to some people from Society General last week, and they were saying that their HR people are publishing stuff to so that it will change the way that people perceive them when they're thinking of applying for jobs. So they're sort of, the HR people are sort of doing PR, except it's also sort of publishing. And then if you've got people doing customer care on Twitter, well, you're using Twitter for customer care, but are you also using it for PR? I mean, these things all starts to become very, very unclear what you're doing. And different companies are responding to this in different ways. At Dell, they've trained everyone in the company to be an ambassador on social media. They just want everyone to go out there and do it. They don't want to have a social media department. At other companies, I was talking to someone from Arriva, France's nuclear power giant, and obviously they want to control the message very, very carefully. And they don't want just everyone going and shooting their mouths off. And so they say to their employees, no, you mustn't go and talk about this in your, on Twitter. You cannot be seen to be speaking on behalf of the company. So they come to a very totally diametrically opposed view to Dell. And it's also clear that this can't be bolted on. You can't outsource this. It's got to be integrated, just like the internet. You can't have an internet department. You have to use it everywhere. It has to be integrated with what you're doing. So you can't just take what you're doing conventionally and say, now we'll just push that out on Facebook, and push that out onto blogs and onto Twitter. Not going to work. Another interesting thing is you actually have to be much more honest. It's not just WikiLeaks. I was talking to Michael Linton of Sony Pictures. He was saying that in the old days when he was marketing a film, you really could be quite dishonest about it. You could put together a trailer that made a film that was actually about one thing, looked like it was actually about another thing, and people wouldn't really notice until after the opening weekend, by which time you'd paid for the movie. Now, people in the first screening are on Twitter, and so you have to be much more straightforward about what things really are. And he was surprisingly honest about that, because he doesn't really have any choice. I think the example of what the Gap did is very instructive, because they got so many things wrong at the same time. And in some ways, actually, it's often very helpful when a company gets things wrong, because it makes everyone sit up and take notice and say, no, we have to get this right. We have to be serious about it. So it's very often the case that companies that do social media well had a disaster in their past. There's a sort of rite of passage to it. And it may be that that's what's been happening with the Gap, for a reason I'll get to in a minute. But yes, there are some things like changing your logo that you probably just want to do yourself. That requires you to decide what you're trying to achieve. You don't go out to your customers and say, what do you think about this? And then you don't do it in the way they did it, where they came up with a new logo, then they asked everyone what they thought, and when the answer was not what they wanted, they sort of pretended they were going to crowdsource a new one, and then they gave up on that. It was a complete mess. So I thought that was quite instructive, because they weren't being honest, they weren't deciding where this was appropriate and where it wasn't. And this was a classic example of how we're still figuring all this stuff out. Mark Zuckerberg says if you look 5 years out, every industry is going to be rethought in a social way, and you can remake whole industries. He's right, and that's going on. Here are some things I think should be on your social networking radar for next year.